I was a practicing clinician working in a home health agency model. I wasn't allowed to dose my patients as per best practice guidelines. So I said, there's gotta be a way to do this better.
My grandmother and my grandfather, I started seeing them going in and out of long-term care. It started personal, seeing the sick side of 80, and now it's been exciting to be part of Fox.
Light bulb moment.
Like, that's a complete game changer.
You can see what we can do as a practice and as treating clinicians to really make 80, 85 look so much different than it did back that long ago.
And boil it down into one saying, it's quite simply this. It's be stronger, live better longer.
Welcome to Fox Rehabilitation's Live Better Longer podcast, the podcast dedicated to clinicians who work with older adults. So if you are listening in real time, this is the day before Thanksgiving Eve, and like I've done for many a Thanksgiving, I am going to visit my grandma on this episode of the Live Better Longer podcast. Yes, because for years, I would spend Thanksgiving with my grandparents. 2 sets of grandparents, and we would rotate each year. Now, there are a couple of reasons why my grandmother is on today. And first of all, I don't need any reasons to have my grandmother on a podcast. I don't need to qualify it. I don't need to rationalize it. But in case you're wondering, here's why my grandmother is on today's episode. The name of this podcast is Live Better Longer. One of our mottos at Fox Rehabilitation is be stronger, live better longer. My grandmother exemplifies that. She's 90 years old. She is living better longer because we believe in the older adult here at Fox Rehabilitation. So that's reason number one. My grandmother personifies our motto, be stronger, live better longer. Now, also, if you listen to this podcast, you should know that I open every episode by saying the podcast dedicated to clinicians who work with older adults. So I would hope that a lot of clinicians listen to this podcast. And I would also hope that a lot of younger clinicians listen to this podcast. So I thought it would be great to have my grandmother on because a younger clinician could kind of get inside of her brain. What does a 90-year-old think? And amazingly, as you'll find out, maybe pop cultural references aside, a 90-year-old doesn't think much differently than a 30-year-old or 20-year-old. Now, albeit a 90-year-old has much more wisdom than a 20 or 30-something, but when you're talking about a one-on-one interaction, you shouldn't be intimidated. So those are the 2 reasons why my grandmother's coming on today, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else you need to know before she comes on. My grandma was reluctant to do this podcast, even though I think she's one of the biggest hams in the family. She is a born performer, whether she acknowledges that or not, which you will find out firsthand when we come back right here on Fox Rehabilitation's Live Better Longer podcast. All right, so before I get my grandmother on the line, I want to let all of you physical therapists and occupational therapists know about an amazing opportunity happening on December 3rd and 4th. Dr. Carol B. Lewis will be hosting the in-person course, Orthopedic Examination and Intervention for the Older Adult. This progressive hands-on course focuses on clinical skills and provides participants with the most up-to-date intervention techniques addressing orthopedic changes and pathologies affecting older persons. Where is it happening? This is also very exciting. It's happening at Fox Rehabilitation's home office in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. So learn from the legend herself, Dr. Carol B. Lewis. Once again, the course, Orthopedic Examination and Intervention for the Older Adult, happening December 3rd and 4th at our home office in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And PTs and OTs, you can get 20 CEUs. So if you would like to register, you can do so by going to greatseminarsandbooks.com. We are back on Fox Rehabilitation's Live Better Longer podcast. And as promised, I am joined by my grandma. Grandma, welcome to the podcast.
Well, hi, Jimmy. How are you?
I'm great. We made this happen finally.
Yes, we did. At first, I was a little leery that I wouldn't say the right things, but I'm just talking like normal.
We're just having a conversation.
Right.
So who talked you into it?
Well, your mom kind of said I should. I mean, well, a lot of others, even Joe, are
my Uncle Joe. Yeah, your son, my uncle.
He goes, you should do it. What? You could maybe tell him something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was the 1-2 punch of my mom and Uncle Joe, because he was over, my mom was on the phone, and between the both of them, they were able to convince you to do this podcast.
Because I'm kind of shy about getting on.
I don't believe that. Because
I know.
Do you remember it was for my parents' 40th wedding anniversary?
Right.
I recorded a video and I got all the relatives, and I think you were the best. You were the best performer on it.
Oh my goodness. What I said, I was probably embarrassed.
No.
But anyway, whatever.
After watching that video and just knowing you throughout my entire life, I ham it up a bunch, and I think I get some of that hamminess from you.
Oh, well, you're pretty good at that.
Yeah, but I get it from you, so you're good at it.
Well, at least I'm good for something.
Well, no, you're good for a ton of things, for countless things. Can we go down the stats quickly? Grandkids. How many grandkids do you have?
21.
Wow. All right.
And there's 40-something great-grandchildren.
Have you lost count of your great-grandkids?
Well, every once in a while I'll go through. There's 2 on the way, so I got to figure those out too.
But we're thinking like 40-something great-grandkids.
At least your mom, she keeps track. She knows more about that than I do because she wrote them all down.
Yeah, every time there's a great-grandkid, I'll get a text. Yeah. I've lost track. There's so many.
I know. I just look on my wall. It's plastered. The whole wall is plastered with pictures. So every once in a while, I'll try to write them down,
Yeah, because for those that don't know, and I guess many have not been over at my grandmother's house, there's a wall. And at first,
full of pictures.
Yeah, so at first it was just pictures of your grandkids. And then it turned into people who married your grandkids. And then it turned into great-grandkids. So what started out with maybe like 21 pictures, it's now just like a wall of pictures. It's a giant collage.
Sure, it's like a wallpaper over there.
And then Grandma, one great-great-grandkid.
Yes, I do have a great-great-grandchild.
All right, that's a lot. That's a...
Right.
Yes.
It is a lot.
So I think we started this by, you said, well, at least I'm good for something. And I said, whoa, hold up.
For populating the world.
Yeah. Without you and Grandpa, like, none of that would have been possible.
I know. What if I hadn't have married him? All these people wouldn't be here.
Well, can I go back to the beginning? Just so I have it on a recording. How did you and Grandpa first meet?
Okay. I lived in Georgia all my life. I was raised in Georgia.
You're a Southern belle.
And he was from Cleveland, and he joined the service, and there was an Air Force base right near where I lived, and that's where he was stationed. And one night, I worked for the telephone company, number please. And so my girlfriend had a car, and when you had a car, you were something else. So her boyfriend was over at the base. So one night she had to take her brother somewhere. So she said, I'm picking you up. Will you go with me? And there's going to be a couple of other, because her boyfriend was a soldier. And I said, okay. So I got in the car, And I looked, and the one guy sitting near the window, I didn't like his look, so I slid over by Grandpa. That's how I met. That's how I met him.
But maybe that was the universe like nudging you in one direction.
Right, it was. I'm sure it was, because you wouldn't be sitting here talking to me.
That's right.
But it was a good life, and I moved to Cleveland, Ohio, and
Wait, hold on.
Here.
Wait, you're fast forwarding. You're skipping over a whole bunch of good stuff. So you nudge closer to Grandpa.
Yes, and
did
then
you share a conversation that night or that evening?
Oh yes, all they did was make fun of our Southern accents, the Northern boys.
Did you make fun of their Midwestern accents?
No.
Okay, you could have if you wanted to.
I was polite, yeah. But anyway, the rest is history.
No, wait, Grandma, you're still fast forwarding. Is it true? Because I think you told me this once. He asked you out on a date and you turned him down?
And I stood him up.
Yes. Wait, you not only turned him down, but you stood him up?
Yes.
Can we talk about that? Like, where were you supposed to go?
We were supposed to go to they called it a wiener roast.
Okay.
And so I did. But then he just was persistent. So.
But did he say, hey, like, why'd you stand me up? How come you didn't go to the wiener roast?
I don't remember if he said that. He probably was hurt.
But he was persistent, and persistence pays off.
Well, I was married to him 54 years before he died, so it was a good marriage too.
Which gave lots of grandkids and great-grandkids, and currently one great-great-grandkid. But how did you end up in Cleveland? So Grandpa goes back. He goes back to Cleveland. But was it an easy sell for you because you grew up in Georgia?
Actually, he was in the service, and it was during the Korean War. So he was sent to El Paso, Texas. So I went with him there, and he was at the Air Force Base in El Paso, Texas. And we met a lot of people there. We were right near the Mexican border and everything. Anyway, I stayed there, and then my first son was born there, and then my second son was almost born there. And then we flew to Cleveland because his parents lived here, and that's where we settled in Cleveland.
But you've been through many a harsh Cleveland winter.
Oh.
Did part of you ever think, why didn't we just stay in Georgia?
Yes, because Cleveland winters, but I guess I have to be used to them by now. I'm getting thinking, oh no, please don't be a bad winter. But anyway, I survived, and that was fine. When I talk to my sister in Georgia, it's warm a lot most of the time. So
you could have had that if you could have sold Grandpa on relocating to Georgia instead of going back to the Midwest.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't.
No,
I knew he wanted to be here.
All right,
and living through depression was. We didn't have very much. I was telling some of my grandkids, for Christmas in our stocking, we would get maybe a apple or an orange,
And you were happy with that, right?
We were happy, yes. And my dad, he had 4 children, and he made $4 a week.
Wow.
Yeah. He milked cows to help us, and we were happy. For a little bitty 2 or 3 pieces of candy or something. And kids have everything now.
Right. No,
but
that's
I look back, and it was during the war too. And we were rationed. We didn't have sugar. We didn't have. And believe it or not, when I was 15, I saw on the TV one day someone was talking about their grandma was 15 and she was working. I said, well, I was 15 and I was working at a dime store during Christmas, and you couldn't get Hershey bars back then because they were very expensive. So one Saturday I worked all day for a box of Hershey bars. I took a payment in Hershey bars.
No, but that's why it's called old school. Grandma, you're old school.
Well, you're not kidding. I'll be 91 soon on Christmas Day.
That's right. My grandmother's birthday is on Christmas. You'll be turning 91. And the reason
Yes.
I had you on this podcast is because our motto with Fox Rehabilitation is be stronger, live better
Yes.
longer. And I think you exemplify that. I guess, quote unquote, an older adult starts when you're 65.
Yeah.
I remember you were always taking care of yourself. Like
I was
in your
golfing
50s
all
and
the time
60s,
with Grandpa.
golfing, walking, yes, exercising.
Walking, right, and have a positive attitude. Don't try not to be mean to people. Get up in the morning and say, "Give me a pure heart today, and let me help someone if I can."
I like that.
Yeah, I do too.
Grandma, what got you into golfing and exercising? And I remember when it was winter, you and Grandpa would walk the malls. So
Oh, yeah.
what got
We
you
would.
into that?
Well, one thing that got me into golfing was Grandpa was a golf addict, and I thought, well, so my girlfriend says, I'm taking all of you ladies out, and you're learning how to golf, so we could be in leagues. So she took us out, and I think she almost went crazy because we all got bowling scores instead of golf scores. But we learned, and we got to go out golfing then, And then Grandpa and me always went on golf trips then because that was fun, just golfing together,
And looking back, how important was it for you to stay active?
Oh, very. Right now, in the morning, I might not feel like it, but I do my exercise always before I even go downstairs.
That's great.
I mean, I have these exercises that they gave me quite a while ago to do, and I do them. And then I walk in the house. I still fix my meals. I still cook and everything. And I do try to walk about 20 minutes in the house too. Because I'm not able to do things like I used to, go out and drive and stuff. But I do all of this, and I take care of myself, and I cook and everything.
And I love, too, when you cook, you're including fruits and vegetables.
Oh, yes. I try to make sure that I have the proper food, like enough vegetables and fruits and things. I do love chocolate.
Well, I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah.
But you're allowed to cheat.
I'm allowed to have that, right?
Yeah, it's it's a balance.
Dark chocolate's good for you, so
yes,
I can have a lot of that. Oh,
and also, Grandma, I love how you've adapted over the years because you have had some injuries. And
oh yes, I broke my pelvic bone. I broke my a bone in my back. I had therapy and I got over that. And then when I broke my pelvic, it had to heal up by itself, but that was painful. But I managed.
And for the pelvis, because when I'm with you, I see how careful you are. You have your rollator, you're bracing yourself on items as you get up and get down. When you broke your pelvis, you were just stepping off of a step, right? It's not like you slipped on ice or anything like that.
Yeah, I was stepping off a higher step and the jarring of it or something. So that happened. But it healed up, and I'm pretty good now.
Yeah, I wanted to know, what was your mindset after you had those injuries? I
didn't let it get me down. I just thought, you have to just get better. You have to. I'm amazed that I did take care of myself. I did get a stair lift to help me go up because I was going upstairs so much. You know? So that helped me.
I'm inspired by you because you hear so many stories of older adults who have an injury late in life. And then that's kind of it. They never rebound from it. But I'm super impressed and super inspired that you've rebounded from 2 and still have this positive attitude.
Yes, I do. I just thank God every day for how he takes care of me.
So another question I wanted to ask you, Grandma. Another reason I have you on the podcast. So we have clinicians, and there's a majority of these clinicians that are maybe mid to late 20s, early 30s. So I want to know, what should a younger clinician know about an older adult, like their mindset? How are you similar? How are you not
Well, I
similar?
think,
How can you come together?
The way I think about it is the age. My age does not make a difference. To me, I'm still young.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mindset that you're still young. You look back and you just think of all these things. I just still feel like I'm in just like a mindset. I'm still young.
So if you were being treated by someone who was 27, they should know that, like, hey, like, don't think of me as someone who's almost 91 years old. Just think of me as a peer.
Yeah,
like,
just
I'm
think
still
of me
young.
Yeah, right. Just think of me as a young person and treat me that way.
Yes. Because
Right.
I've seen you in action. I think I visited in the summer. So this was a few months ago.
Yeah, right.
Like you're still at it. Like you're still working around the kitchen. I come over.
Yeah.
And, hey, what do you want to eat? What do you want to drink?
Yeah.
So I love that you're still going.
Me too, and I hope I keep that way. I don't want to. I can't imagine. I just keep thinking I want to be this way until I'm no longer here.
Yeah, no, but I think you have been doing that over the last 30, 35, 40 years.
Yeah. And Grandpa and me, we just believed in walking. We walked in the mall. We walked in the park. We loved walking around the neighborhoods and everything. So that was good.
And then are you still watching Cleveland baseball?
Oh yeah.
When do you think they'll win a World Series?
I wished I could live to see that because it was so exciting when they were. Remember that one time they almost won, and
it was against Florida. They almost won. It was against Chicago. They almost won.
Yeah, I know. But they had an exciting team this year, so we'll just hope.
Yeah, no, it's a young team.
Maybe next year.
One of my favorite current memories is me and you. This was a few years ago. We watched an NBA Finals game.
Yeah, I remember that.
See,
yeah.
I think stuff like
you
that.
Had to sleep on my couch.
Yes, it was comfortable.
Really?
We had a nice talk, and then I also have to point out that my grandma makes the best fried eggs. What is it?
I don't know, because when you go to a restaurant, you say, I want an egg over, I don't want it runny, but I want it still the yellow to be runny, but not the white.
You want to be able to
and
dip.
they don't know how to fix it, but I can fix it then.
But even like the salt and pepper ratio, it's perfect.
Yes,
it's perfect.
Yeah.
I was talking to Ann, I forget when, that's my sister, and she said Grandma Shearer could make a bologna sandwich and it would taste good.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I don't know what it is, but you have like that special touch.
Well, I know another grandchild said that too. Grandma, you make the best eggs. If you ever have to spend the night here, I'll make you some eggs. If I'm still around.
No, but I don't want you to make breakfast for me. But when I'm with you, and if it's early enough, I do request a fried egg. Just because I think it's such a special thing.
All right.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yes.
I remember it.
Well, Grandma...
Well, this has been a nice conversation.
Yeah, see? It wasn't so bad.
No. I lived through it.
Because I have interviewed surgeons on this podcast.
Really?
There's a doctor named Carol B. Lewis who is famous in the world of physical therapy. It took me an email. It took me an email to get her on this podcast. It took me 4 or 5 phone calls and an in-person visit to get you on my podcast. So you were the hardest guest to book on this podcast.
Well, I don't know what that says about me.
No, but we made it because you said, "What's a podcast?" And I said, "Well, it's just like talk radio." And we're just having a conversation. And we did. So we made it happen.
We did, and I'm glad I did, because I kind of felt sorry that I kept putting you off, because I thought, that's my grandson. What are you doing?
You were blowing me off like you blew off Grandpa.
Finally, I came around.
So,
oh boy!
before we go, I want to
Yeah.
say Happy Thanksgiving to you.
You too. You too.
Merry, and by
Merry
the way, I'll
Christmas.
I'll do all this stuff in real life, but in podcast land, Merry Christmas and happy 91st birthday on Christmas.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
will you come back if I were to ask you again?
Well, if I have anything new to say.
All right. So, Grandma, thank you so much.
You
I love
never
you.
know my new adventures every day.
I love you,
right.
and I appreciate
Love
you doing this.
Love you, Jimmy. Love you.
So,
Bye-bye.
for my grandma, my name is Jim Shearer, and we will see yins later.
Oh, I love that, Ewan. I'll see y'all later.